Hey guys, it's John, your Tennessee Flying Farmer. We're on day 29 of the 31-day December build challenge. Yesterday, I worked on the ventilation for the cabin. I got one side done yesterday, so I would like to get you guys some different content, but I'm gonna try my best since I'm kind of in the groove and I've got everything laid out and I sort of know exactly what needs to happen here and that thought process is rolling. That's what I'm gonna work on the other side today. I am gonna go over a couple of tools real quick and I wanna weigh these things. I'm curious. I had a buddy comment kind of picking at me about adding the weight. I know he's just kidding, but I was actually curious about these things before I even installed them. I haven't weighed them yet, so I've got the parts laid out. Let's find out how much weight this actually adds to the plane. So stay tuned.
This guy's good.
Now, here's our farmer, John Humbred.
Look at that! Oh my God!
That was good.
Whoa!
So I just want to start out by saying that these modern aircraft kits through Zenith are really pretty incredible with their CNC technology. It doesn't take hardly anything to put them together anymore. You can put these things together in your garage, basement, it doesn't take much. It doesn't even take many tools. So that being said, the most common tools for building one of these planes is a drill and the Cleco pliers. And of course you have to have the Clecos to be able to put stuff together and mock it up and that kind of stuff. But those are basically the tools that are required to put together one of these anymore. Once you get past the base kit, you know, there's a lot of stuff like as far as the fuel systems, electrical systems, the engines and all that kind of stuff. Putting the prop on and all that, of course, will require some hand tools and that kind of stuff. But for the base kit, that's really just about all you need. That being said, I want to show you the two tools I use a crazy amount that are not required at all, but if either one of these tools tears up on me today, I will just have to shut down and go inside and go see what it takes to buy another one. So the first one is this hand nibbler. You see I can keep it on top of my little bucket there. That's the pieces I've nibbled out with it. But anyway, the hand nibbler, it's almost like a set of pliers, but it's called a Super Coupe. EDMA is the brand name on it. But basically, I've gone over this in a previous video, I think, but basically you squeeze them like you do pliers and let's see if I can get it in view here. Essentially, that part of it there just nibbles out the metal you're working with. And you can kind of, I might have to get it in focus for you guys. You can follow along. It's got a little groove up there that shows kind of how wide of a cut it's making. So as you nibble, you can you can trace a line and it'll cut a little bit of a curve and that kind of stuff too. So I use these. Guys, if I have to trim anything, I almost use these on everything. Even if it's just snipping the little edge of a corner or something like that, they've been just great. I bought both of these tools early on in my first build, so I've used them all through one build of the Super701 and I've used them a lot in this build too. The second one is this it's essentially a hand belt sander. This one's air powered. I think you can get them 2 or 3 different ways. The one I really like is called a mini Dynaphile. You just squeeze the trigger. You have to hook an air hose to it. Uses a small belt, and you can get these belts. You can get them with all kinds of different coarsenesses. I think this is an 80 grit, but they make some long life belts, and these things hold up pretty well. So I've used this thing. I mean, this is simply my most used shop tool. I could not do without this thing anymore. Not just for airplane stuff, but you name it. I use this on just about everything. That being said, I'm almost positive I bought both of those through McMaster. I know they're both available through McMaster. Both of them seem kind of pricey for what they are, but this is one of the places I'll just tell you guys, you get what you pay for. They've both been great. They've both worked exceptionally well. They both do not cause problems. You just pick them up and use them and put them back down. So that being said, I'll try to drop the link for them through McMaster. You may shop around. I'm not affiliated with McMaster, so you may shop around and find better pricing somewhere, but that's the basics of those two tools. So those are my favorites. If you guys have tools, you know, you're seeing me in these videos do different stuff. If y'all have some kind of a tool that you think, man, John needs this, this would make his life much easier, shoot me the link, tell me about it, and give me a comment. I'd like to look into it. I'm always game for things that make life easier, especially for what I'm doing, because guys, I don't intend for this to be my last airplane build either. I've got more stuff, of course, more stuff already in the works with that single seater, but I'm pretty sure this is going to be a lifelong journey for me. So I plan to be building for quite a while. And there's a quick view from the inside of what those cabin vents look like. And of course, I mentioned I'm curious about the weight, guys. These things I know they're incredibly light, but I'm really kind of curious. So with that comment I got, and I was actually thinking about these before the comment, but one of my friends picking at me, kidding with me about how much weight I'm adding to the plane over these vents. I love it. I love the comments, guys. But anyway, I am curious, so let's head over to the scales. So I actually dug out one of the snap vents. These snap vents come with the Zenith kits. The bubble window in the door has a hole for these vents, and this snap vent well, they call it a snap vent because it snaps into the hole, and then when it's in the door, you can open it or close it. They're lightweight, they're simple, they seem to work pretty well, so there's not really a big deal in using them at all. But out of total curiosity, let's just find out here. So those are 0.9 ounces, so that's not even hardly a full ounce. I've got all the pieces for the vent that I'm using. You see that comes in at 1 ounce, so that's 0.1 ounce more than the snap vent. And the only thing I haven't added there is the little bolt that you have to kind of keep it all together. So that gets you to 1.1. So you're looking at 0.2 ounces versus 0.9. So let's see, and I'm adding 4 of those. So you're looking at, what are we looking at here? Just a little over 4 ounces, 4.4 ounces, because I am adding 2 on each side. So I'll have 4 of these. They weigh in at 1.1 ounces. And of course, I'm getting rid of the snap vent, but you have to consider that the bubble window inside that door, if you don't use them, they do not have that piece of glass cut out for them. So that's almost a wash. I don't know how much that actually removes and stuff. Anyway, so it's safe to say that I'm adding, you know, roughly, I'm gonna say 5 ounces to this thing. I'm adding just a little over 1/4 pound. So I'm probably, realistically, guys, I'm probably adding a whole lot more weight than that with these eyeball vents and all the duct work that's going to be required to make them work and come out where I've got to make it happen. So, and I'm okay with that, because I do a lot of flying. I fly in all conditions. I mean, you guys have seen in my previous videos, I'll fly in the rain around storms. I fly in the heat of the summer. I fly down to, you know, less than 20 degrees Fahrenheit when there's snow everywhere. So one of the things I do want with this plane is comfort. I want it to be reliable and comfortable. And if I can add, you know, I'm willing to add a couple of pounds to get some comfort for the summer heat and for the winter cold flying. That being said, let's get busy putting this second one of these in so I can work on my summer heat vents, and let's get to work. I'm going to install this pretty much exact same way I did in yesterday's video. I'm just doing the right side opposed to the left. So the first step I'm really going to do here is take off this lower door seal so I can have, like I said, it overhangs a little bit on this side. So I'm going to take it off so I can really just so I can see it easier, get in there to it easier, my clamp, and me trying to measure and get that to where it fits perfectly inside that with the tiniest little bit of edge distance and placement, just get it to where it's the same on both sides and I don't have any kind of clearance issues. So first step, remove this. I'll get it clamped in here and I'll be back with you when I get ready to drill the first holes. Okay, I'm ready to drill the holes through that piece. Actually, that's through the skin. Takes a little bit to get that lined up with just the tiniest little bit of clearance around everything the way I want to have it. Anyway, I've got it clamped in there, and the first step is to essentially back drill or drill through the pilot holes in that through the skin. Drilling through this skin always, anytime I drill through something that's a major skin like this, makes me kind of nervous because it really needs to work, because this particular skin comes from the factory. Essentially this entire lower door piece, this cabin side, this cabin side comes from the factory with these solid rivets already pressed, so that's already taken care of. And you see there's angle extrusions. A lot of the bracing, a lot of the structural is done on these cabin sides from the factory. So anytime I'm drilling through something like this, like I say, if I mess this up, I would essentially have to have, I mean, you could probably put a patch there, but who just wants the perfectionist in me would absolutely destroy me, because I could not put a patch in this if I goofed it up. I would have to replace that skin or just order a whole new cabin side, and that would just be a nightmare, because it's already done and fixed and assembled and ready. So long story short, it takes some time to be sure all this is just perfect and in the right place, and you got to be in the right mindset to go ahead and set in on that, and just know that when you get invested with it, you're fully invested, because that's kind of a one-shot deal right there. Okay, I got the holes drilled from the other side. I took this back off the inside, and I've got it cleco to the outside now. Essentially what I do right here, it's got the small opening. I'll just take a little pencil and mark around that opening, and it's what actually has to be cut out. It's a little bigger than this, but this gives you a pretty good baseline to start. The bottom line, the forward line, and the top line are all roughly, will wind up being about 4 to 5 millimeters bigger than what the opening is in this piece that comes with the kit. So if I essentially bore holes in the 4 corners, I need to make sure I don't go past that going rearward. It's okay to go a little further down, a little further up. And then these forward corners, I can go a little bit further forward and down in that corner, and a little bit further forward and up in that corner. As long as I don't go further than 4 millimeters past where I've marked, I'm pretty safe. So anyway, those are all marked and ready. And since I was talking about tools a minute ago, I want to give you guys another a little tip, or something I figured out years ago that works really, really well for me. And this will only apply to you guys that are using air tools. Most systems are 90 to 100 PSI, and mine's the same way, but there are lots of times I would really like to have an easy way to have less air using the same hose. So I've come up with and the reason I say that, like my drill, the riveter is even the same way, the air riveter. But my drill, this is a Chicago pneumatic drill. I've had it for years and years. It works great. But it's a little bit trigger happy, so it's either an off-on deal, and when it goes on, it's, of course, if it has 100 PSI behind it, it's loud, it's spinning really, really fast, which isn't really a problem, but it's loud, it's just noisy. And I don't need it to be that fast, and if you slow down the air pressure, that makes the trigger, at least on this one, become a little more manageable too. So that being said, where I like to run this is between 30 and 50 PSI. I pulled all the rivets on the Super 701 by hand with the hand riveter. When I started this Super Duty, I told Zenith, I said, I don't want to do that again. I said, go ahead and send me the air riveter. So I also noticed on this, I think most people run them just at the line pressure. I greatly prefer to push, or actually pull back the pressure for the rivet gun also. I've noticed it works really well for the A4 rivets on about 35 to 40 PSI. And then if you're doing the A5 rivets, you'll have to bump it on up to around 50. It makes, what I think happens is it lets it pull it just a little bit slower, and it's a lot quieter, and it doesn't make hardly such a bang. it operates really well that way. So, long story short here, let me shorten this up for you a little bit. I like the drill at around 35, 40-ish. I like the air rivet depending on which rivet I'm using, you know, anywhere from 35 to 50, 55. Then I have other things like this sander that I like to have the full pressure because it has two reasons. It has a trigger that's really easy to do by hand. You can kind of tweak it how you want. You make it go as fast or as slow as what you really want it to. And most of the time, if you're really trying to get after something and get it whittled down, you'll want it at full speed. So I like to have the full line pressure going to that and have it a lot less for these other tools. So what I have done here, you can get these regulators pretty much any of your paint shops or probably any of the automotive style shops. I don't know, I've had this thing for probably 20 years now. This one, you just twist the top to change the pressure. And you can see there it's set for about 35 PSI, somewhere between 35 and 40. That's what I've been running the drill on. So what I've done, I've just got that little pressure regulator. I put it in line with my hoses. And if I want the full pressure, all I have to do is just unhook it and hook this hose back to that. It's a real quick, simple, literally takes like 3 seconds to change it. Of course, it'd be nice to have 2 hoses and just have that wall mounted, but I just don't see the need to. It's too easy for me to just walk over here and hook and unhook, or if I need to bump it up just a little, all I have to do is just turn that dial a little bit and it bumps the pressure up. Anyway, that's a quick tip. Hopefully that'll help somebody out there, because if you're like me, you like to work with the air tools. I wear earplugs with just about everything I do as far as tools or farm machinery or that kind of stuff. My ears are pretty sensitive anyway, so you'll see me wearing earplugs a lot. But if you reduce that air pressure, it helps with the noise tremendously. All right, let's get back to work. So I've got the basic hole marked, laid out. I put an extra little dots there. That's 4 millimeters outside of where I've got it marked, the corners. And like I said, I don't need to go any more that way, but I can come down just a little bit on that rear, on the top and bottom both. I can go up a little bit and I can go down just a little bit from where that actual line is. So what I'll do here, at least for me, the easiest way I found to cut out this type of a thing, and this goes right back to my tools. This is one very good example of where I use that less air pressure. What I use is just a standard air drill with a step bit. Let's see if I can turn it a little bit so you can actually see the step. It's a step bit. If I can get it in focus for you guys. What I'll do here is I'll essentially start right on that corner, and I'll just enlarge it and enlarge it a little more until I get it to almost to that extra mark I've made there. And once I get that hole in all 4 corners, I'll essentially make the hole big enough that I'll be able to get my hand nibbler in there, and I'll just cut out that center section of that. And then basically just like yesterday, once I get that hole cut out, I will then turn around and use the hand belt sander to get all those edges squared up and nice and straight and all that kind of stuff. So this is the part where it's time consuming. All right, I've got the 4 holes there cut out. They're pretty close, they're not dead on it, but basically what I'll do there is I'll use my hand nibbler. I'll cut that out, the plate, the triangle, or not the triangle, I'll cut the rectangle out of the center of that. And once I get that rough cut into it, I'll use the sander to get the edges, like I said before, I'll use the sander to get the edges good and straight, get over to the holes where I've got everything lined out, make it almost a perfect rectangle. And I'll start to install some of this stuff back into it, just like yesterday, really. Guys, if you didn't get to see it and you want to know more, go to yesterday's video. I'll show a few more details and some time-lapse stuff of actually some of this stuff happening. I'm not going to go through what it takes to do that camera-wise today, but between today and yesterday, you should be able to have a pretty good grasp on what it takes to install these. Anyway, next step is to cut out that rectangle. I'll get the edges all straight. I'll mock this stuff up to it. And as needed, as I get that door in there where it starts swinging and that kind of stuff, I'll mark and trim a little bit more, take it apart, trim. I'll put it back together and mark it. And essentially I'll get it to where that door just does close into this skin and up against this back plate that'll actually be inside. So as I do that, I'll kind of use my hand file and I'll just bring these corners a little bit further out, and then I'll use that hand sander and get the edges square to them every time. As you can see, I've got that piece removed, and it's, like I said, it's very, very rough cut. There's no need to get that super smooth, especially just with the hand nibblers. I mean, the hand nibblers leaves a pretty good finish on it, but it's tough to get it. It's tough to get it positioned right just to get it perfect across and into those holes. So this is where the belt sander, especially with that narrow belt, really comes in handy. It's easy to get it in there and get that whittled out to almost a perfect rectangle. So that being said, that's the next step. I'll get the belt sander, I'll clean that up, and then I'll reassemble some of this. Okay, as you can see, I've got it pretty well straight edges now, and I've got the other piece mounted inside the back. That's the back plate, the part that it's like the doubler. It makes it stronger, and it also gives this door something to actually close against. So this is very rough. I'm just getting started good. Basically, when this door is turned square too, when it's turned 90 degrees, it should be able to fit in here, and that part that's forward will clear and allow it to close. And you can see I don't hardly have it. I can't grind that because the part this is touching is actually the back plate, so I can't grind it any more forward just yet. What I've got to do, I don't hardly have this part here at the top and bottom, and of course I'll be straight all the way across, but I don't hardly have the skin ground enough backward for this to all fit in and be able to actually go in and operate. So this is where the on-off and a little bit of trimming at a time takes place. This is time consuming because, like I said in the last video, you don't want to go too far, and it doesn't take much to go from not enough to leaving a gap there that's just kind of ugly. So if you're a perfectionist, this right here takes a lot of time just on and off with stuff. So next step, I'll remove this. I'll probably mount it back to the outside and see exactly how much I like getting the skin to that back plate. I'll remark it, and then I'll file that corner over just a little bit top and bottom, and I'll get that back line sanded with my belt sander back straight across so that I'll be able to put this in there that way. And then I can start working it closed to see exactly how much I need to trim to be able to get it to recess into the skin. Okay, I've got that sanded just a little further, or actually just cut back a little further there. It's almost matching. I may have to cut just a tiny bit more, but I do have it at this point to where I can take this vent door, I can turn it 90 degrees, and it just barely will, even though it rubs a little bit there on that pivot. It just barely will fit in there and open and close now. So I don't know if I can get this where you can see, but as you might be able to see there, it actually locks a fair amount right there at the top. I'll have to cut this skin up a fair amount more just to be able to get it to where it'll open and close inside. You can kind of see right there just a little bit. It locks, I don't know, a couple of millimeters. And I did that purposely. I don't want to try to take it all the way on the very first rough cut. So I will take the file, and what I'll actually do is mark there. So I'll have a line I do not cross, and I'll take the file and I will file that corner up nearly to the line, and I'll disassemble all this stuff again. I'll take the sander and sand that edge smooth from corner to corner all the way around, except the back. The back's almost there, so I won't do much more to it. All right, you see now where I've got, like I said, I don't need to go back that way much, so this file mark looks a little different than this. This is just a round file, so I've used a round file to bring this corner up just a little bit, but not back. That corner down just a little bit and not back. And you can see a little bit of my mark there where I marked where the door was. Trying to get closer to it, but not hardly. I don't want to take it all the way because that's, well, like I said, you can go from one extreme to the other very, very quickly. So next step, I'll get my belt sander. I'll sand that edge down to where it's straight across, that edge to where it's straight across from essentially from the outside part of that circle to the outside part of that circle. And I'll do that on the 3 sides. And I'm just going to take a tiny bit more off of this back edge to allow a little clearance for that pivot when it goes by right there. You guys want to know why this build's taking so long? Right here's why. It's because of all these crazy modifications and the stuff I'm doing to it that's just different than the standard kit. I've said over and over and over again, guys, if you don't want to spend just an exuberant amount of time building these things, just build them according to the plans. Stick with the factory stuff. Stick with the way they've done it on their demo planes. Use their same engines they've got on their demo planes where they already have a firewall forward stuff ready. They've got instrument packages with panels that are already cut out. You can easily just throw all that stuff together and have one of these things built and in the air flying really amazingly quickly. But when you start doing this kind of stuff, this one thing right here, I'm literally into this basically hours at this point, just one side. So, and I know it's attention to detail, it's perfectionist, I want the thing just right, but there are times I look back and I wish, man, I really wish I had just done the base kit, used everything stock straight out of the crate from Zenith, bought their instrument package, their engine, firewall forward, everything that's just completely standard, and put it together, and I would have been flying. I should have been flying a couple of years ago, but again, here I am working on stuff that's very custom to this one plane. All right, let's look and see where I am. Okay, when I get this close, there are actually 2 pieces to this where basically where the hinge and the slide goes through. Once I get this far along, I install both of those. I just had one in there earlier. And basically this part right here slides between those. So what happens there, and I'm getting really close now, guys. I put the thing in there 90 degrees just like always. And that slides between the 2, and it kind of helps center it top to bottom so I can be sure I'm getting everything just right. Like I said, getting really close now. It's not hardly there. It's binding just a little still. Went ahead and marked a little bit further around. I've got lines all the way around it now. I think the back is really, really close. So all I really like is getting it kind of to where I've got marked at this point. I will take my file and file just a little bit deeper into the corners. And then I'll take my belt sander, and same story as the last. Like I said, it's getting kind of ridiculous on how much time you can spend on doing these little details, but here we are. Okay, I'm finally there. I don't even know what the time, I don't know what time it is or any of that. I've got to quit on this here in a minute and get a video together for you guys and get some more of my stuff done. But I do have it now to where it'll open and close, and I've got the bolt in there to where it's all lined up with the slot, and it actually works really well. Let's take a look here real quick. Closed position, when it's closed, is completely smooth. There's no edge at all. I mean, that is basically the exact same thickness as this skin, because you can't even feel it when you rub your finger across it, which makes it really nice when it's closed, because it's, like I say, when it's paint matched, everything there's painted, it's almost not even noticeable. When it's open, there's the open position. When it's open, it gives you a pretty good size little air scoop there. As far as the detail, let's see if I can get you where you can actually see it. It's just a little bit of, it's trying to focus on the clecos, isn't it? Anyway, that gap right there, right in there, is really uniform pretty much all the way around. It's still just a tiny bit tight right here in this very back corner, and I don't think it would ever be an issue, but it's uniform everywhere except for about from there over to the very corner. So I'm gonna take it back apart one more time and clean that up. While I've got it apart, I'll probably deburr everything and kind of buff the edges of that and get everything just where it's really smooth. Well, I'm glad that's done. That's something I've actually been looking at and kind of putting off for quite a while. So thank you guys for hanging with me and putting up with 2 videos worth of getting that stuff installed. I think it's going to work really, really well there, and I'm excited about it. All right, guys, to wrap up, we got the vents installed, the front ones, and I know you just see the cutout for it. The back ones are actually installed to the same point that these are, or they're to where I can click on them in and they'll be at the exact same point. So I've got all 4 of those are essentially done and ready for final assembly, which I'm not going to do hardly just yet. There's a lot of stuff on this thing that's Clecoed, even some of that back fuselage I just have Clecoed. It's ready to rivet, but I want to be sure that everything is just exactly how I want it before I final rivet some of this stuff. So that being said, I really appreciate you guys, the likes, the comments, the shares, every bit of that helps. I'm not big enough to really make any kind of money. There's no way that the monetization of these videos pays for even remotely close to what it takes to put them together or edit them, because it'll, even though these are pretty easy clips to just bounce together, it'll still take me, an hour at least to put these videos together every time. So I'm just not good at it, guys. Video editing takes me a long time. So again, thank you. The comments, I love the comments. Keep them coming. I'll try my best to answer, reply, respond. We have a couple more days left, so be sure and leave some comments on what you'd like for me to talk about or discuss, or I've got a couple of things in mind, or even what you want me to work on next. If there's something in particular you want me to potentially work on, talk about, throw that idea at me, because I'm kind of, I have tons of stuff I can work on, but I'm not real sure exactly what to proceed on next. So either give me some ideas or I'll figure something out tomorrow. Until then, see ya.